Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to give all the attendees a few minutes to get in the room. So I'm just super excited to see where all these people are coming from. We've got Oregon, Mexico, I think I saw Sweden, Australia. Oh my goodness. All over the world. But yeah, Steve and Jamie, before we hopped on, we were actually in the middle of talking about the wedding that you're planning this weekend. That stage that you're building is incredible. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we started the build out for this last Monday, so about 12 days before the wedding, and it's pretty intense. It's kind of like building a house. So there's all of the metal beams below, and then below that it's going to have all of the electrical cords and even the heating ducts. And so it's kind of like a house where it's going to blow the hot air for warmth into the floor, and then so now it's the subfloor that's down, and they started putting down like the click and wood floor, and then the tent goes on top of that, probably starting tomorrow or the next day. And it's a lot of work. It's going to be beautiful though. So yeah, we're excited.
How big is the wedding?
There is just right around 300 people.
Okay.
But a big dance floor, band, bars on either end.
Catering.
Huge catering tent.
All of that.
Yeah, it's like a 40-foot catering tent, which is pretty massive. So
wow.
It's a big undertaking, but it's fun to see it. It's going to have this cool staircase going up. Carpenters coming out, I think, tomorrow to build. And should be fun. Should be good.
Yeah, the setting is beautiful on that lake. It's incredible.
It's actually the ocean, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Pacific Ocean. Yeah, right?
Unbelievable.
Making sure I'm not making that up.
Very cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We've got a full class in store for you guys today. My name is Emily Newman. I'm the founder of Once Wed and If I Made. And if this is your first time taking an If I Made live class, If I Made is an online learning platform for creatives. So we teach classes in everything from stationery design to wedding photography to wedding styling, event planning, and now event design. We always like to start off our classes with a few helpful tips to give you the best viewing experience possible. We are streaming live over the internet, so depending on the speed of your internet connection, it's going to determine the quality of the picture that you're currently seeing. So if you have a slower internet connection, the picture may be a little bit pixelated or delayed. Don't fret, we will be sending out a replay link later of the class. There's a lot of really great reasons to stay for the entire class. But if you have to hop off early, we totally understand. Everyone who attends the class will be receiving a replay link later on in your email this evening. If let's say you're in the middle of the class and you get bumped off for some reason, use the same link that you used to get into this class to try to re-enter the class. Sometimes all you have to do is just refresh your browser and it starts everything back up again. And then finally, we will be saving time at the end for a live Q&A with Steve and Jamie. So please be asking questions throughout the entire webinar. We have moderators in the background who are keeping track of all your questions, and we're going to try to get to as many as we can at the end of the webinar. If you aren't familiar with Sinclair & Moore, Steve and Jamie are a husband and wife event design and planning team based in Seattle, Washington. They plan destination weddings and events all over the world. In fact, they were in Italy a couple weekends ago planning an incredible destination wedding event there. And if you open up the most recent issue of Martha Stewart Weddings, you'll actually see a wedding that they designed and planned as well. So their work has been featured in countless publications all over the world too. One of the things that I just wanted to thank you guys for is you've been so incredible in sending in your stories and your questions over direct messages and email over the last couple weeks, sharing your hearts of what you want to learn from Steve and Jamie. And I'm really excited because this class was kind of crafted around all those questions and stories that y'all have been sending in. And so much of what you're going through, Steve and Jamie have also been through. You know, stories and struggles around, you know, how do you attract your ideal client? How do you increase your prices? You know, how do you streamline your processes to plan more weddings, to bring on more team members? Steve and Jamie have been in all of those intersections in their own business. I'm excited that you guys are going to learn so much more about not only how they started their business, but also how they like the beautiful side of the business, right? Like how do they plan and design all these incredible events? I think one of the reasons we love Steve and Jamie is that they do such a great job of being transparent about their business and their family on their Instagram. Every weekend, I feel like you see a beautiful Sinclair & Moore wedding unfold in front of us. But stories can only tell so much of that story. And that's why we're excited that you're going to have a chance to go a little bit deeper with Steve and Jamie today about how they built their business, and then also how do they plan and design all these beautiful events that we see unfold in front of us every weekend. So Steve and Jamie, thanks so much for joining us, and I'm going to let you guys take it away from there.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. Hey everyone, I'm Steve. This is my wife, Jamie. And together we run the planning and event business, Sinclair and More. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're excited to share some of the things we've learned throughout our 16 years in business. We've had our ups and downs and understand the wedding industry is competitive and constantly changing. So today we wanted to set aside some time to share with you some of the steps we've taken along the way to continually grow our business and our designs, and most importantly, how we've ensured it remained profitable and enjoyable all these years later.
Now, we know a lot of these webinars feel like they've been set up for the sole purpose of getting you to buy something. Steve has spent the past 6 months working alongside the If I Made team on a brilliant new course we're really proud of, and we do want to share more about that with you. But that's not the only reason that we're here. We're here to teach you some steps that you can start taking right after this class today to change the path of your business. First up, let's talk about our intentions for this time that we're spending together. As we've started talking about this class with you over email and Instagram, so many of you reached out to share what you've been struggling with in your businesses. We read your messages and they helped us determine the direction of today's class. It doesn't matter whether you're at the very beginning of your business or you've been hustling for 10 years. Our goal is to have you walk away from our hour together today with proven strategies to impact your business and your designs for the better.
Jamie's right. In the middle of a really busy wedding season, I've been working with the If I Made team to develop and launch our new online course, the Sinclair and More Wedding Model. I want to tell you about that quickly so that we can then dive into the info you need to start making the changes in your business today. The Sinclair and More Wedding Model is a combination of one of my existing online courses, Behind the Business, which I know a lot of you have taken before, so thank you for that. But it's also a new class I created all about event design that's brand new. When you get these courses together, they teach you everything you need to know about running a successful and profitable event design and planning business. If you sign up for these courses before the end of today's webinar, you will receive up to 12 hours of video tutorials covering topics such as client inquiry and booking, pricing, branding and marketing, my event design process, tablescape design and execution, foam-free floral design, my sourcing guide for 150 of my favorite resources for decor items such as vases and ribbons and fabric, floral supplies, candles, and flowers. And then I'll also take you behind the scenes where you'll get to watch an actual client and vendor meeting, see my client inquiry forms, and development of my visual proposals. Now through Thursday, you can save $500 on the Sinclair More Wedding Model. After that, the retail price goes up to $14.98. This is the lowest price this course will ever be. And If I Made offers payment plans for both US and international buyers, starting from $99 a month. And if you buy while on the webinar today, you'll also receive 2 bonus videos. In the first video, I'm going to demonstrate how I make a signature Sinclair More bridal bouquet. And in the second, I'll show you how to make a bridal bouquet and centerpiece entirely out of peonies. I love this one because it's a simple design that anyone can execute, even if you don't have floral experience, but somehow end up needing to make wedding flowers, which actually happened to me when I was first starting out. I'm going to tell you guys that story pretty soon. Okay, we can talk in more detail about the course later on, but I want to get into today's class, so here's how it's going to go. For the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to take you through today's training. Then we'll move into the video demonstration showing my 6 elements of tablescape design. And once that has wrapped, we'll jump into the live Q&A session where you can ask me anything. We'll also do a review of my new course so I can give you some more helpful details on that. So thanks for being here. We want to help you find a way to make the reality of running a wedding business match up to the dream you imagined when you were starting out, and a lot less stressful and exhausting than you're probably used to. So speaking of those dreams, I asked you guys to share what your dreams were for your business when you were first starting out. And here's what you shared with me. You wanted to bring your passion for design to life to help tell stories and serve your couples. You were looking forward to the freedom of working for yourself and earning a strong and reliable income for your family. And you were excited to be done with replicated Pinterest weddings. And you thought your days were going to be filled with flowers and beautiful decor. I loved reading all of these sentiments because I couldn't agree more. That's what I wanted too when I started out. But then I asked you guys to share with me some of the hard realities you were all facing as business owners. And you said you feel like you're continually being asked to recreate Pinterest weddings. You have no boundaries with work hours and feel like you're beholden to the demands of your clients. You can't charge enough to make the services you're providing profitable. And you feel like your clients just don't trust you to create the weddings you know you're capable of executing. And we hear you on all of this. You guys see the highlights reel of our life and business on Instagram, but we have dealt with the exact same problems that you are facing now. We know how hard it feels to work hard, give it everything you've got, and still not see enough profit coming in, not feel trusted or respected by your clients, and not have your business living up to the dream you always hoped it could be.
That's why we're so passionate about teaching this class. We want everyone to be able to attract more of the right clients, design weddings you're proud of, and make more money no matter where you are in your business. And most of all, we want you to do this while enjoying it. So from here on out, we're putting all the negativity aside. We want you to walk away from today's class with a plan for attracting more of your ideal clients that fit your aesthetic, with a new approach to pricing that guarantees you more profit, with the tools you need to streamline your client interaction and take back control of your schedule, and be excited to begin creating fresh and inspired designs that are unique to your couples, and feel re-energized to make the changes necessary to run that business of your dreams. How does this sound, you guys?
So if you're struggling right now, I want to tell you a little bit about my journey in the wedding industry, in the hope that it will help you see that anything really is possible through hard work and thoughtful, intentional business decisions. I know some of you are familiar with our company and might have heard my story in the past, but we have a lot of new people that have joined us today, so bear with me as I share part of my story again for the benefit of the people who are unfamiliar with it. So when I embarked on establishing my business, I knew where I wanted to go. From an early age, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do with my life. I remember seeing Father of the Bride in the movie theater when I was just in 6th grade, and I wanted to be Franck. I wanted to create beautiful weddings that reflected the vision of my client. Do you remember that beautiful staircase covered in flowers in that movie? I wanted to create that staircase. I left that movie and I knew I had discovered my purpose in life. So that was my dream. I carried it in my heart for many years before it would come to fruition. And even when it did start to become a reality, I had to start at the bottom. The reality was that when I started my business 16 years ago, I only had $500 to my name, and I was working in one of the most competitive wedding markets in the US. I took a huge risk, and I quit my job so I could pursue my dreams and support myself. I know a lot of you are wondering, well, how do I take that leap? Let me tell you, it's not glamorous. In the beginning of my career, I started out by making wedding cakes and wedding dresses for my brides. And when that started to gain a little traction, I began offering full planning and design packages. I think I charged about $500 for these early weddings. And then on top of that, I throw in a free wedding cake for every bride just to thank them for booking with me. I charged almost nothing for my services and worked as hard as I could to gain experience, build a portfolio, and grow my business. You joined this webinar to hear my 5 strategies for growing a profitable wedding business. These strategies got Sinclair Moore to where it is today, so let me outline those for you. First, we'll talk about how I started my business and how seizing every opportunity that came my way was essential to getting us to a profitable position. Next, I'll let you in on the design exploration process I go through with every client to ensure I'm always creating fresh, inspired work that my couples love. It's also the way I'm able to have so much creative freedom with my weddings. Then, I'll share my foolproof method for creating a distinct brand that will attract your ideal client. We'll follow up with learning why I price so differently to others in the industry. And then finally, I want to give you a demonstration tutorial on my inspiration process and the 6 go-to elements I use for any tablescape to ensure it has a wow factor. no matter the budget. And here's the other thing. You can use these 5 business strategies, whether you're a florist, planner, designer, or invitation designer. That's the beauty of these strategies. They work for so many different types of wedding businesses. So let's get started by me telling you how seizing just one opportunity changed my business forever. And if you've heard me tell this story, you'll know the impact it had on my life and why I continue to tell it all these years later. So I had been in business for just a few months when an amazing opportunity opened for me to meet one of my role models, Martha Stewart. She was hosting a book signing, and I knew this was my one chance to show her my portfolio, which at the time was just a notebook full of pasted photos from a disposable camera. The security guards at the event were collecting all of the items people had brought for Martha, but I didn't hand over my portfolio. Instead, when I finally got to the front of the line, I opened my portfolio in front of her and I told her I was just taking her own advice, quoting her back to herself, to make every opportunity a business opportunity. I think she appreciated my audacity, and she told me that she'd like to get her people in touch with me. A few days later, I got a call from someone at Martha. Convinced that it was one of my friends playing a practical joke on me, I hung up on them 3 times. Finally, when they called back the last time, I realized that this was the real deal, that Martha's people were really contacting me. Even though that call was exciting, it still took another 4 years before I was featured in an article in her magazine. And don't get the idea that things suddenly started taking off. Even when I finally got featured in a written article, it took many more years of hard work and rejection until one of my weddings was finally featured in print. But it was all because of the relationship I had established years prior. It was all because I was willing to take a risk. I took that opportunity to put myself out there and promote my business because those moments are the ones that make or break you. They're the chances you have to step into your dreams and create something truly great.
And those kinds of opportunities exist for everyone. You just have to take them. Opportunities for you to reach out to people are endless. We have Instagram, Facebook, email, etc. And remember, not every opportunity is going to be as flashy as meeting Martha.
It's true, and I have a near horror story example of that. So early in my career, I was hired by a bride to plan her wedding. Somehow, things were miscommunicated, and I ended up taking on the floral design when I had never designed an arrangement before in my life. I had no idea what I was doing. I told you guys this happened to me. It was a nightmare. I didn't even know how to use floral foam. I didn't soak the foam, so then the arrangements were falling apart and crumbling in my hands. And I was frantically running around trying to get everything done. I didn't sleep at all the night before, but I made it happen. It was a lesson learned the hard way. But it opened up more opportunities for me to take on more floral design work, which is a huge part of what I do today. And I jumped at every opportunity that came my way from the very beginning. And not too long after that, I met Jamie.
So I'm going to give you the abridged version and my version of how Steve and I met. We were actually introduced by my roommate who had been a client of Steve's. She told Steve that I was really into him, but I actually had no idea who he was or why he had booked a flight to come meet me in New York. Anyway, before he came to visit, we started talking online, getting to know each other, and we really hit it off. We had a lot of deep conversations, and it seemed like a really good match. But when we met in person, it was a total disaster, and I hardly said a word because I was so nervous. Thankfully, Steve wasn't ready to give up on me and flew out again for a second date weekend, and that's when things really started to click. And the rest is history. We dated for a while. I relocated from New York and got married, and I jumped headfirst into the business with him as our lead wedding planner. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest, but we knew that we could make it work. I remember the very first meeting that I ever joined with Steve. A few minutes into it, he had an emergency come up and had to leave. He was supposed to run the meeting, and I was just going to be there to observe and learn. Now, all of a sudden, I'm running a client meeting with someone I had never met and no clue of what to say.
And she's never gonna let me live that one down. But you guys, that's how things start. We knew that being proactive, rolling with the punches, and seizing every opportunity that came our way we would be able to build Sinclair Moore into a business that now supports our entire family and staff of 6 people 16 years later. Over those years, there have been many changes made to our systems and processes to ensure we remain efficient and productive. But one of the things that has changed very little in all this time is my design process. And that brings us to strategy number 2, my design exploration process. So no matter the scope, budget, or vision for a wedding, I follow the exact same process for every event design with my client. I call it my design exploration process, and it's a series of 15 steps I work through to get me from my initial meeting until the point of making a client's visual proposal. So let's start at the end of the process, and we'll work backwards from there. If you joined my webinars last year, you might remember me sharing that I don't present my clients with their visual proposal until about 2 months before their wedding. The webinar chat blew up when I said this, and no one could comprehend how that was even possible. This design exploration process is how it's possible. I spend a lot of time getting to know my clients during the design exploration process. Investing time in this early part of the design is critical for me, and it will be for you too, because it will build rapport and trust with your clients. By spending time on the front end, getting to know them and understanding their wishes, it enables me to have far more creative freedom and space when I need it as we head into a busy wedding season. By the end of the process, when I present them with their visual proposal, which is about 8 to 10 weeks out from their wedding, they're usually so overwhelmed and thrilled with the design that they essentially hand over the reins and let me do my thing from there on out until their wedding day. I can't tell you how much of a weight it is off of my shoulders to know that my clients have complete faith in me and they won't be needing frequent text messages and email reassurance in the weeks leading into their wedding. It also ensures that I thoroughly know and understand my client's vision and style before I even attempt to create a proposal for them. Throughout this process, my clients often change their mind multiple times, and that's okay. I'm giving them the freedom to move through those decisions without it ever impacting the time I've spent working on their design. One of the other reasons I swear by my design exploration process is that it's truly my secret weapon when it comes to staying inspired and creating weddings that are unique and ahead of the trends. Throughout these 15 steps, I'm typically avoiding wedding imagery and instead focusing on inspiration sources such as my clients' favorite places to eat and shop, brands and artwork they love, their dream home interior, experiences, places and memories that make them come alive. The combination of all of this information gives me a rich well of ideas I can pull from. There's also a step in the process that forces me to find a point of difference in my design that makes it unlike anything I've created before. If I can't find it, I return to the drawing board. A design idea will never be seen by a client if I can't identify what about it is unique. And I believe that that has been the key to our success as a brand. People recognize a Sinclair Moore wedding and aspire to have that experience for themselves. So at this point, you're probably wondering, what are the 15 steps of my design exploration process actually are? It covers everything from client observation and initial inspiration to considerations of stationery, desserts, and decor rentals. I cover this process in extensive detail in my new course, Mastering Event Design, but for today's purposes, there's one of the 15 steps in particular that I wanted to share with you, and it's around the development of a client's color palette. So I know everyone thinks about color differently when it comes to design, but I've always taken a 3-layer approach when thinking about wedding color palettes, and it has worked seamlessly for me over the years. Best of all, it enables me to communicate my ideas about a color in a way that my clients can understand. So let me walk you through what those 3 different approaches are. The first is the foundational color, and this is what everything is built on top of. This is the base on top of which everything is built. It's typically some kind of neutral color, and while it might not stand out to you as a predominant tone, it will actually take up about 80% of what people see. So in this photo that you guys see right now on your screen, you're going to see a lot of green. And so that is what I used for my foundational color with this wedding. I wanted that to feel very light and airy, and I wanted it to just be something that was neutral and didn't pop too much. And so you'll see a lot of green used. In this case, I used it as the table linen. So the next element with my colors, as I break it down, is the principal color. Now, this is the defining color of a wedding, and it will typically take up about 15% of what people see. If a client tells you they love blue, for example, this would be your principal color, not your foundational color. So most people don't want to see a wedding that is 80% blue, but 15% blue, that's something that can become a beautiful layer within your design and allow you to draw attention to particular details where appropriate, like a napkin or a bow tied on a guest's favor. I also tend to think about the principal color as multiple shades or tones of a particular color. It's rarely a solid standalone color. So looking back on the photo here that's up on your screen, remember that the foundational color was that beautiful light green that we used. The principal color that I used is the pink that you see. It's that beautiful, blushy, moody, kind of muddy mauve color. And that is the color that I wanted to really pop on top of the green. So if people were to attend this wedding, they'd probably leave saying that they thought the bride had a pink wedding, even though it was maybe 15% of the color that you see. So that's how we talk about principal color. So that leaves us with the final gesture, and that is the accent color. This is like the gestural flower in an arrangement. It's the finishing touch that doesn't distract you, but might catch your eye in a pleasant way. The accent color will make up about 5% of what people see and could be something like a metallic gold or a silver, for example. So in this photo that you see with the same wedding, remember the green is the foundational color, the principal color are the pops of that pink. And then the accents that we used, the accent color was silver. And in this case, we used a tarnished silver. And that was just for those minimal accents. So then the predominant thing that you saw would be the green and, of course, the pink. So color palette is just one of the 15 steps in my design exploration process, but I hope it gives you a fresh perspective of how you could think about color differently when it comes to designing your next event.
Now, you're probably thinking that this design exploration process sounds really exciting to use with your ideal client, but are you now stuck wondering how to attract those clients in the first place? Well, that's what brings us to strategy number 3. The brand that we've developed over the years has been key to our success, and we want to teach you how you can let your brand do the heavy lifting when it comes to connecting with your ideal clients. A strong brand isn't just about a logo or the way that your Instagram looks. A brand is what defines your business. It's how people talk about you and what they think of you. It's the big picture that includes every detail of who you are and what you do.
To me, a brand is something that comes from the core values that you stand on. From the very beginning, I have always known what my core values and principles are. You can learn a million branding strategies, but if you don't know what your values are, you'll struggle to find lasting success in your industry. Things change, trends come and go, and your ideal client will probably be different in 5 years. But what remains the same is who you are and what you stand for. That's why it's so important to build a brand based on your values. It's a firm and consistent foundation for a lasting business. Your business is a natural extension of who you are, which means building a successful, profitable brand rests on that foundation. Take some time to consider what you want to be known for, define your values, and stick to them. Having a firm foundation is what will set you apart from everyone else in the end. Beyond the core principles and values I base my entire business upon, we've been really intentional about building a brand over the years. In the beginning, I took any opportunity I could get, and I marketed myself as Stephen Moore Designs, and I aimed to attract enough work to start building a solid portfolio and just to pay my bills. That worked for quite a while, and then over time, I wanted to attract more expensive weddings, so I moved towards a more high-end brand. My website, logo, fonts, and images all started reflecting a more expensive high-end style. Then when Jamie came on board, we changed the business from Stephen Moore Designs to Sinclair & Moore. We wanted to take on a limited number of expensive weddings each year, so we continued to market ourselves as a high-end brand and aim to attract big budget weddings.
And when we're expecting our second child, London, we realized that we were going to have to increase the volume of weddings in order to afford the staff that we needed to replace me, as I knew I wanted to be able to spend more time at home with our kids. So we did a total rebrand and started marketing ourselves as more personal, approachable, and friendly. We wanted to attract beautiful weddings, but we didn't want to seem too exclusive. Our logo, Instagram, website, and images all started to reflect a more down-to-earth image that made it easy for potential clients to feel connected to us. Over the years, our brand has changed based on what we've needed it to be to sustain our family and lifestyle. But again, what has never changed is our core values.
Being able to stand firm on those values has given our brand the foundation for success, no matter what kind of changes we make on the surface. It can be really tricky to know how to build a brand aesthetic when there are so many trends coming and going, which is part of why it's so important to know your core values and to pay attention to what brides currently want, since that's always changing. My philosophy on that is that you should create a classic, timeless brand and then infuse elements of whatever is trending into your designs. So if you keep it 80% classic and 20% trendy, you're able to stay relevant without having to totally rebrand every time the trends fade and change. Obviously, social media and getting featured in blogs and magazines are all a huge part of building a memorable brand. We've been really intentional about the way we approach social media and want every single interaction to be one that strengthens our brand. We've also put ourselves out there time and time again to get featured in the blogs and magazines that we know are going to support our business.
We always want to be seen as approachable in our brand, so we make a strong effort to stay connected to the people who follow us on social media. We always post our own Instagram images and captions. We make sure that we use stories often so people feel personally connected to us, and we share a lot of our family and home life. We're very real about how things go during events and in our personal lives, and I think that creates a sense of comfort when it comes to our brand. But like we said earlier, Instagram is not 100% of the story, so don't get discouraged. What you need to focus on is establishing a strong brand. If you do that, you'll have clients that are attracted to who you are and they'll want to work with you. This means you'll be spending less time doing the chasing, freeing you up to invest in other aspects of your business.
And that brings us to strategy number 4. Where we're going to be talking about pricing and profit. So here at Sinclair & More, we offer multiple services in-house, those being wedding planning, design, and florals. This not only differentiates our brand from others in the marketplace, but also ensures a certain level of quality control as we're taking care of the entire event for our clients. I know more and more of you are starting to take this approach in your business. I've been contacted by a lot of floral designs in particular over the past 6 or so months who are all looking to add event design to their service offerings. I get really excited when I hear about this because when done correctly, this is a great way to bring in more revenue for your business and also elevate the entire visual experience of a wedding. So here's my advice, speaking from experience. If you're going to take on producing and designing entire weddings like this, you have to structure your pricing in a way that will bring in profit every single time. Otherwise, it won't be worth all the extra work. Now, a little bit about our pricing model, and I want to let you in on a secret. I don't price like most people in the industry. I don't upcharge for my florals. I don't upcharge for my decor. I don't line item costs in my client's invoice. And I don't provide any design details to a client before they booked and paid for my services. So how do I make money, you're wondering? Pricing is a complex topic and one that is really hard to articulate well in the short amount of time we have together today, but I'm going to do my best. So when it comes to pricing my services, I have 2 fees that I charge. A planning fee that covers all of our logistical coordination and execution of the wedding, and a design fee that covers all of our concept development and execution, including creating the florals. So these fees are priced at a point where I know I'm going to be fairly compensated for all of the work my team and I will put into our client's wedding. The reason I'm able to set these fees at the level I do all comes down to communication. From my very first interaction with a client, I am letting them know that I will go above and beyond to serve them well. I'm not trying to make them spend more money than necessary, and I'm going to be transparent with them on all of the costs. Just some of the ways I do that include being very clear about the cost of goods with my clients. So I do not upcharge on the florals or the decor, and instead I invoice my clients for everything that I source for their wedding at its true cost, without markup. This shows my client that I value the investment they made in me as their designer, and I'm going to ensure that they get maximum value on every dollar they spend beyond that. I also provide my clients with access to my decor and inventory at no additional cost. Included in my design fee, I provide access to any decor that I already own, and clients perceive tremendous value in that offer, and it can help them justify and understand my initial design fee. And finally, I'm always cautious of staying within their budget. When setting a decor budget with my client, I am always open and honest about what I think is realistic with their vision in mind. Once that budget has been set, they know I will go to great lengths to source everything required to execute their wedding within that budget. Because they know I will not be upcharging anything I purchase, there is no need for me to line item my floral and decor services, which saves me a tremendous amount of time. Lastly, I want to talk to you about the reason I never work on a design proposal before a client has booked and how that is related to my pricing structure. So I want to be paid from before I start working, not after I write the proposal. I know most people in the industry, especially florists, will spend a lot of time working on design proposals for their clients before they have booked. This is often due to the pricing model that they're using. If you're upcharging on your florals or decor in order to make your profit, which is quite common, clients will generally want to know where every dollar is before they make a commitment to you. This requires you to be very specific with your proposals on the front end in order to win a client's trust and their booking. My pricing model ensures that clients do not start out penny pinching with me before the design has ever begun. It also means I don't spend a minute working on a design before I have been paid for my expertise. When I started out, I charged almost nothing for my weddings, but I did always charge a design fee. So my pricing structure has never changed. It just increased over the years. As time went by, I started booking more brides. I increased my fee from $500 to $750 to $1,000 and so on until where I am today. It's not common to charge the way that I charge, and I hear a lot of people tell me that it just doesn't work. But it's the structure I've used for 16 years, and it has allowed me to develop a business that is financially thriving.
Sharing our entire pricing formula is a conversation that takes more time than we have today, but we have been completely open and transparent about every aspect of our business in our online course, Behind the Business. In there, we cover our client inquiry, booking, and communication process, as well as our pricing model and our 4-phase approach to planning and designing a wedding. You have the opportunity to invest in the Sinclair & Moore model, event design, and Behind the Business today if you want to dive a little deeper on these topics and the event design process that follows. So how are you guys feeling? We still have one final strategy to share with you, but our hope is that at this point, you're starting to remember all of those wonderful and genuine reasons that you got into the wedding industry in the first place. Yes, the reality can be tough, and there's no denying the hard work involved. But that dream we all had in the early days, it is possible. Steve and I are so grateful that our business continues to reward us professionally, creatively, and financially. And we know the same is possible for all of you. It's the reason we're so passionate about creating as many learning opportunities as we can to share all of the experiences and lessons that have helped us reach the point we're at today. We know not everyone can attend our in-person workshops, which is why online learning with If I Made has become one of our top priorities.
Now, all of this brings us to the final strategy that we want to share with you today, and that's a look at the 6 elements we incorporate into every Sinclair & Moore tablescape. So these ideas might sound simple when you hear them, but I promise you when used in combination with one another, they are a foolproof way to elevate any tablescape and give it a wow factor, even when you're working with the smallest of budgets. So in a few minutes, you're about to watch a video demonstration where I'll show you these 6 elements in action. But if you want to take a note before we get started, we'll be discussing linens, chairs, candles, stationery, place settings, and centerpieces. Before I share this video, I know a lot of you are just starting out on your business, or you may feel overwhelmed in your current business, and I get that. When I started back in 2002, you couldn't just Google how to make a centerpiece or jump on YouTube or attend workshops to learn new skills. So that's why I'm so excited to give you this opportunity, a new online course we've created specifically for you. I'm going to hand you back to Emily, who is going to run through some more of the details with you.
Thanks, Steve. So guys, as you probably already know, we are excited to launch the Sinclair Moore wedding model this week. The Sinclair Moore wedding model contains 2 parts, behind the business and mastering event design. So let's talk a little bit about behind the business. In behind the business, you're going to discover Sinclair Moore's pricing model that guarantees profit every time. You're going to learn to attract more of the right clients and book them on the spot. You'll learn their foolproof social media strategy and how they built their impactful brand. And you'll learn why they don't line item, itemize, or upcharge on their florals. And like Steve said earlier, this is something that makes them very unique in the industry. Not a lot of other vendors do this, and I think it's a big reason why Sinclair Moore is a profitable business. I want to go into a little bit more detail about each section of behind the business. So we were able to cover a little bit of pricing. We're going to try to cover some more in the Q&A. But in behind the business, you're going to learn the exact pricing strategy that has enabled Sinclair Moore to stand out in the industry and build a profitable, sustainable business. And this pricing strategy also works for most service-based businesses like floral designers, invitation designers, calligraphers, and cake designers. You'll also learn about branding and marketing. You're going to understand Steve's strategies for attracting and booking more of your ideal clients. They share everything they've learned about building a brand that will outlast any trend and how to use social media and publish features to connect with potential clients and vendors. You'll follow along as Steve and Jamie share their entire client inquiry and booking process, step by step from start to finish, including their 4-phase approach to planning and design. You'll learn all about logistics, design, planning, and strategies that happen during each step. You'll also learn how Sinclair Moore's floral ordering process is so unique to the industry. They don't itemize or upcharge on florals, and it's the reason they have so much creative freedom with their clients and make a profit on every wedding. Learn how Steve is able to order an abundance of flowers for every event and still make money. So let's talk about what's in their brand new course, Mastering Event Design. In this course, Steve talks through every decision he makes to transform wedding visions from initial inspiration to execution. So you're going to learn Sinclair Moore's step-by-step design process used with every client, how to transform a bride's Pinterest board into a unique real-life wedding, how to design centerpieces and ceremony florals completely foam-free, how to select and source the right decor pieces to elevate your designs, and you'll learn a new approach to client interaction and preparing visual proposals. You'll learn the 15-step process Steve works through with every client in order to come up with design ideas for their wedding. And then once you've mastered these steps, you'll see them come to life on a real client's wedding. You'll have the opportunity to watch Steve's initial design meeting with a client, his visual proposal presentation meeting, and a vendor meeting with the wedding cake designer. All along the way, you'll be watching a real wedding design come to life. Steve demonstrates how to create a signature Sinclair Moore floral centerpiece and a lush garden-inspired floral arch ceremony, completely foam-free. He covers the correct use of a floral frog, as well as detailed installation mechanics to keep your designs alive without foam. You'll also learn and see Steve explain how he makes every decision required to select the tangible pieces needed to bring 3 unique wedding visions to life. He talks through everything from linens, plates, flatware, and glassware, through to vases, floral, stationery, and chairs. You'll then watch him execute each of these 3 looks. And this is actually the part of the course I'm most excited about, because I don't know of any other learning opportunity where you get to understand the why behind a particular design. And not just one design, but 3. So Steve talks through things like why a particular glass is right for this wedding or not, how to know what linen will work best, what to look for in a chair, and what other design elements to take into consideration. I think the course can explain it so much better than in a couple of sentences. So we want to give you guys a quick sneak peek at one of our design, selection, and sourcing videos from the course. We've got a longer video in store for you guys in a few minutes, but I can't resist sharing this one here.
So the last thing I'm really wrestling through with all of this design is the perfect chair for this wedding. So the one idea that I had was to use a ghost chair. It's called a ghost chair because it's clear, it's very modern. It is something that would basically kind of just disappear, but also be a design element and reinforce this idea of everything feeling very modern, crisp, clean. So a ghost chair is one option. I also know that a lot of people have been using ghost chairs. Worried that perhaps Katie might think that this is too predictable or maybe too modern for her because she also is very classic as well. So the other idea that we could do for what we have available to us here in Seattle is a white Chiavari chair. And this is so classic and iconic. Some people would call it boring. But in the right context and in the right wedding, I think it can be really, really lovely. So depending on where we land with the linen, that'll really influence what chair we ultimately end up with. If we use the blue linen, the white chair would look beautiful and would really pop. But if we use the white linen with the white chair, it's just going to look like white on white on white. And my concern is that's going to look really, really boring and stark and cold. And Katie wants her wedding to feel very warm and approachable, so we can't have too much white. If we use the ghost chair with a white linen, the hue from the ghost chair kind of has like a blue reflection, and so it's just going to almost bring out a little bit of the blue and a little bit more interest, and I don't think it will look as cold as the white on white. So we'll wait and see what linen we finalize for Katie, and then we will kind of select the chair that fits in best with that vision.
So let's talk a little bit about what you'll get in the course. You'll get 10 hours of total video training. You'll get the Sinclair & Moore pricing model. You'll get no foam centerpiece and installation video tutorials. You'll get access to Steve's 15-step design exploration process. You'll get example client and vendor meeting videos, and you'll get step-by-step design and execution of 3 unique wedding looks. So now through Thursday, you can save $500 on the Sinclair & Moore wedding model. After that, the retail price goes up to $14.98. And this is the lowest price the course will ever be. Even during our flash sales that we have a couple times a year, the course will never be this low again. If you click the offer to the right-hand side, you can learn more details about the course. You can also find it on ifimade.com. And don't worry, clicking the offer won't take you away from the webinar. It'll only open a new tab in your browser. We totally understand what a huge investment this is when you're starting out or even if you're running an existing business. And that's why we're so excited to offer payment plans to both US and international residents, starting from only $99 a month. And this is something else that's only happening this week. After this week, payment plans go up. This is the lowest price this course will be ever. Another thing too is that Sinclair & Moore's event design workshops without travel begin at $3,500, but now you can gain lifetime access to 10+ hours of their teachings for only $998. You'll also receive lifetime access on any device. So something that's important for us at If I Made is that we know you guys are always on the go. A lot of you guys are starting a business, or you have a full-time job and you're having to do events on the weekends. And that's why we want the course to be accessible wherever you are. So desktop, laptop, tablet, or mobile, you can access the course on any of these devices. More than 500 creatives have transformed their businesses and their designs by applying the lessons taught by Sinclair & Moore in their workshops and online courses. So if you have any questions about what it's like learning from Steve and Jamie, you can find more by searching the hashtag Sinclair & Moore workshops. We're so excited to also announce that you can buy this course at absolutely no risk to you. We're offering a 15-day money-back guarantee on this course. We know what a big investment this is, so it's important for us that you feel confident in taking this step towards transforming your business for the better. And as a special thank you to all of our previous students who've purchased a class or course from us before, you'll also receive an additional $50 off for buying either the course on its own or the Sinclair Moore wedding model. And as a bonus, if you buy within the next 30 minutes, you'll also receive 2 additional video tutorials from Steve absolutely free. So in this first video, you'll learn how Steve designs a signature Sinclair Moore bridal bouquet. And in the second, he'll share how to make an all peony bouquet and centerpiece, even if you have no floral experience. So this is a great class for someone who's considering adding floral design to their business. These 2 videos are valued at $2.99, but you'll receive them both for free if you buy within the next 30 minutes. You'll want to use the promo code Wedding Model when you check out. And this promo code is only exclusive to the live webinar attendees. So you'll definitely want to take advantage of this special offer while you can. You'll add the promo code during checkout, and we'll know to add the classes to your dashboard. And like I said earlier, clicking on the offer won't take you out of the webinar. It'll just open up a new tab in your browser. So Steve, I'm going to go ahead and share the 6 elements of a tablescape with everyone.
All right.
And guys, just a quick reminder, definitely be sure to stay through the video because we're going to be opening up for a live Q&A at the end, and we're going to try to get to as many of the amazing questions that you've been asking during this webinar after the video.
So this is my inspiration board. So when I was envisioning this design, I was thinking of a gal who is very romantic and classic to the core, someone who loves a little bit of whimsy, someone who maybe loves to read literature and has that as part of her personality. I was also thinking of someone who would be very feminine and someone who would like things that are soft. And so as I started pulling images, the vision that came to mind was to create a Secret Garden inspired wedding. And so I found this is one of the original Secret Garden book covers. And I was really inspired just by the idea of a secret garden, how magical that can feel, how timeless, how vintage, how feminine that whole idea of a secret garden feels. There's a bit of romance and mystery involved in that. And so then I just started pulling other things that fit within that. I was also drawn to the idea of European architecture. And so I wanted to find a venue that felt European. I think there's something so magical and special about that style of architecture with all of the greens and the landscape that surrounds it. And I think that would be like the perfect setting for a secret garden kind of wedding. And then building off of that. Some of the other images that really inspired me were just all of these different ones that had roses growing up. So the idea of these mysterious vines growing in and around a house full of these pink colors. When I think of someone being really feminine and loving something very classic, the combination of femininity and that classic appeal, I always think of blush pinks. And so that's why I chose the color palette for this. This image here, I loved it. I loved like the flowers coming out of her hair. It kind of reminded me of someone that would have been in that time period of the secret garden. But more than that, I loved this green color. And I started becoming more and more drawn to this idea of using green. We don't use a lot of green in our work other than the greenery and the flower arrangements, the vines and things that are naturally there with the foliage. And so I wanted to incorporate more green than I've ever done before, just to be different than what we typically do. So I started then just pinning different things that had green, and it became more and more part of this overall design. So as we approach the color palette for this, as we talk about foundational color and principal color, and then accent colors, for me the foundational color of this became green, and then we're going to build our other colors on top of that. And so the principal color for this is going to be the blush pinks and different shades of that. And then the accents are going to be metallics. I'm going to use kind of mixed metals, so a little bit of metallic gold and a little bit of the silver that's tarnished so it looks old, and we're going to combine them together. So I started pulling photos that had like the gold mixed in with it, and just to start having that component come out as well. This is an arrangement that I made a little while ago, and it just felt right for this. So I'm going to try to recreate something similar to that, but I'm going to do it with blushier colored flowers. And the container that it's in, it's a container for me that's really, really special. It's a company that is European. It's a very high end, and this was a gift. That container was a gift that someone got to me. So anytime I get to use it, it's very rare. Anytime I get to use it, it's just something that's really special. So it felt really fitting for this course. And because I was so inspired by that white ceramic kind of container that we'll be using, I wanted to start pulling different plates and different ideas for the place settings that would pull off of that as well. So this is my inspiration. It's very romantic. It's going to be very lush and whimsical and classic. All of those ideas coming together to create something that I think we'll be really proud of. So I'm here with one of our tables that we created for our new course, and I wanted to share with you a few helpful tips that you'll find useful as you design your own tablescapes. For every new design that we create, we use the same 6 elements. I want to share with you what those are and why they're so important when you're designing a table. The first element that we always consider when we're designing a tabletop are the linens. There's a lot of different kinds of linens that go on every table, from the base linen to the napkin. Sometimes it's a runner, sometimes it's an overlay. On this table, we have a velvet linen and an overlay on the top of that, and then a really interesting napkin to bring things out. And I think it's so important to have a really beautiful linen as a foundation because everything else is built on top of that. The second element that I'm always considering when we're designing a tabletop are the centerpieces. The centerpieces are something that really become the focal point of the table. I think people can engage in conversation around it, and it's something that I want to highlight exactly what my client's style is. Centerpieces can be flowers, sometimes they're food, sometimes it's a structural element, but there's always some kind of centerpiece that grounds the table. So the third element are candles. We always include candles on our tabletop because they provide ambiance, they provide light, and they often provide a little bit of a splash of color and texture. So for us, candles are really important because the holder that they're in helps to tell a style. The different kind of candles that we can use also reinforce the style, whether it's a pillar candle, a taper candle, or sometimes it's just a simple votive. No matter what your vision is, there's a role that candles will play in your tabletop. You just have to select the right one that fits within your vision. Next up is stationery. I love stationery. Anyone that knows me knows that I love paper products. I think it's so important because it reinforces a design like nothing else can. From the font to the paper to if it has deckled edges or clean cut edges, the paper products are so important. Not only do they add to the design and how beautiful everything is, they're also functional. They tell people where to sit, they tell people what table they're supposed to be at. For me, stationery is so important because it was the first thing that the guests saw when they received the invitation, and it's an opportunity at the wedding to show just how cohesive every thoughtful detail was, from invitation all the way through to the table number, the place card, and every other element that the graphic designer created. The next element on every tabletop are place settings. People have to have some kind of plate or something to eat off of, and it's an opportunity to bring a style to life. You can have just a simple white plate, or you can layer it up and you can have a beautiful charger and then another colored plate on top of that and then another layer on top of that. People have to have plates, and so why don't you use that function to make something beautiful to really reinforce your design? For example, on this tabletop here, we have a charger that's made out of this from the same company that made our vase. And then on top of that, we have a blushy mauve colored plate. And then we put a napkin to surround that. And then we layered on top of that a salad plate, and then the stationery is on top of that. And so we have all of these different layers. Everything on that place setting is very functional and serves a purpose, but it also helps with the design. And the last element that's part of every single tablescape that we create are the chairs. Now, I can't tell you how many times I hear a client say the chairs don't matter, but they do. As you can see right here, the chairs basically form a wall around this table. It's the most predominant thing that you see, and it creates such a big footprint. I would rather see a client spend less money on flowers and get the chairs, because to me, the chairs are like having the right shoe with the right outfit. Sometimes you can have a perfect outfit and then you wear the wrong shoe with it. It kind of throws everything off. The chair is that same kind of accessory. You might have a really beautiful table, but then you pair the wrong chair with it and the whole design just feels like it's thrown off. Take some time to figure out what is the right chair for the right table. I could talk to you guys for hours about all of the different elements and why I selected the different things I selected and how important event design is and how those 6 elements that we talked about really make a beautiful tablescape. But I hope this short tutorial has given you the tools that you need to think differently as you create and design your next tabletop.
Awesome. All right, Steve and Jamie, we've got so many great questions for you. I'm going to go ahead and get right into them. First question from Tammy. Have you always from the beginning charged a planning and design fee and only cost for florals and other decorative elements?
Yes, because, and let me just explain it kind of in a little bit more detail. When I first started out, I had other friends that were in the industry and other like florist friends. This still happens, but I would listen to them talk about how they had just worked on this proposal for a really long time, and then how upset they were because the client didn't hire them after they spent like a month working on this proposal. But the client took their little roadmap to a perfect wedding, ran down the street to Betty Sue, and Betty Sue did it for like a fraction of the price. And then they were upset because now the wedding that they designed was being replicated or like executed by someone down the street that did it for a fraction. And they didn't make any money off of it, and they did all the work. So that's been happening. It happens now, and it's been happening for years. And when I first started my business, I was like, that's insane. Why would you ever design? Why would you ever do that? So I wanted to be paid. Also, I needed to be paid. It's like I had rent that was due in a couple days, and I needed the money. So I had to make money. So it only was logical to me. Like if you want me to design your wedding, you need to pay me a deposit, at which point I will get started on designing your wedding. And so that's how I presented it from the very, very first client that I ever had. And they said yes. And so I'm like, oh, I guess that works. And then I've never switched. It just kind of made sense. But like I said in the webinar, in doing that, it really allows me to get to know my client. And so that when I do the visual proposal, the entire thing is a reflection of who they are and what they love. And you can only know those details if you've spent a lot of time with them. And I need to get the money. I need to get the money if they want me to spend that time with them. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Steve, this is something you've done from the very beginning. I mean, you just said no matter what you were charging, that's what's so great about this pricing strategy is no matter where you are in your business, whether you've been in business or just starting out, have never charged anything before, or 5 years into it, this strategy has grown with you as your business has grown.
100%. I think, I have people that come to my workshop in person, and they'll tell me like, oh, that doesn't work. That'll never work. And they'll argue with me like while I'm teaching my workshop. Some of you might be watching and know who you are. But they'll argue with me. You guys, like, it does work. And that's how we make our money. Yeah. I think the beauty of it is because my florist friends will be like, well, I got a deposit for this wedding I'm working on, but I don't want to spend any of the money because I need to save it so that I can buy the flowers with it down the road. So even though they do get paid once the client agrees to their proposal, they're still like holding on to their money, not thinking that it's theirs. So in my method, it's like, okay, the money that I get, I know it's my profit. Like I know like this is how we can pay ourselves, or how I can pay my employees. It's my money. It's versus money that like
you're spending for the client.
Yeah. Yeah. So that money comes down the road later on. And when they pay me that money, that goes directly to the supplies and go in a separate bank account. There's no temptation to like buy like a new coat with it or something, because it's not my money. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm seeing a couple questions come through around the promo code and payment plans. The promo code is wedding model. We just put it up in the chat. We'll put it up in the chat again. When you enter that promo code in the checkout, it's on the last checkout page. You should see a little section that says promo code. You enter it in there, and that tells us to add those 2 free classes to your dashboard. You guys still have time to take advantage of that exclusive offer. And then the second question is around payment plans. So our payment plans are, we offer payment plans for both international and U.S. residents. And the $99 a month payment plan that we're offering this week is also a limited time only offer. After this week, we won't be offering payment plans that are this low. And the reason we're doing that is because we want as many people as possible to invest in this course because we've seen it transform businesses. Okay, Steve and Jamie, next question. See, pulling it up. Can you share, this is from Erica, can you share some of your core values that you talked about earlier in the webinar?
Yeah. Yeah, be generous. That's a big one that we implement with our clients, and that's number one. Yeah, generosity goes a long way, whether you're sharing wisdom or time, props, just little things that go a long way.
So we say like kindness and generosity go hand in hand, and those are. Can you guys hear that? I'm in my studio right now. And,
something's happening up.
Something's rolling around.
On a webinar, and it's basketball or something. I don't know what's happening. So.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, so kindness and generosity is it's just so important to us and like foundational to everything that we do. Sometimes it means spending more time with a client because they need to share their heart. It might not even be wedding related. It might be about something completely different and personal. Yeah. But being willing to like spend the time with them. Sometimes it's using some of our money from our profit to like put back into their wedding to make it look better and nicer than they could have imagined. Sometimes it's helping other vendors out. Part of our brand is we also want to be known as people that are supporting other vendors and younger floral designers and people that are just starting out, because there was no one there to help me when I started out. You guys, when I started my business, I was working for a floral designer, and she told all of the flower wholesalers not to sell to me, and if they did, she would stop buying from them. So no one would sell me flowers except for one person. So I literally had no one that had my back except for one person when I started my business. And so for me, it's like I always wanted to be known as someone that helps people and was generous with knowledge, generous with like, hey, I have extra flowers. Do you want to use them? Or, hey, like, do you want to use my arch? I don't know, whatever it might be. But even generosity, and you know what, we talked about like anything I have in my collection, like I don't charge my clients an additional rental fee. I could be like, oh, you want to use this? That's going to be $10. But we just give it to them. And I think clients really appreciate that. We find ways during the engagement season to like give them little gifts, things that are meaningful, generous with like when they meet with us for the first time, they leave with like a bag filled with stuff. Even if they don't book with us, we want them to know we're excited about them and their engagement, and it's a time to be celebrated. So being generous. There's more if you buy our course.
Those are our top.
Yeah, those are our top two. I think those are foundational just in how we live our life too. But
so guys, this next question is around kind of your inspiration board, your inspiration process. And I think that's one of the neatest things about your course is that so many of the learning opportunities, even available today, is just kind of, they just kind of present you the finished piece, right? Like they're like, here's a beautiful table, we're done. But your course, you really start from the very beginning and you walk us through those 15 steps that you use with every single one of your clients. You talk about the how and the why. And I think that just sets it apart. I think that's what makes your process unique. And so Catherine, asked a question about the video that she saw earlier. Steve, are the pictures shown on the inspiration board, like your photos? Where do your pictures come from? Can you talk a little bit about that inspiration process?
Totally. So I struggle with this sometimes because it's like I have this idea in my head, and to pitch it to a client, you have some clients that will just trust you and be like, do whatever you want to do. Like my wedding this coming weekend, they're like, have at it, have fun. We'll see you at the wedding. But not everyone is like that. So a lot of times there's two kinds of images that I look for. There's one that has nothing to do with the wedding. So if you like saw what I did last week, I had like a picture from, what was that movie? Casablanca? Okay. Yeah, Casablanca, from like the 40s. Yeah. Because I wanted just that. With the people. Yeah, just with the people. It had nothing to do with the wedding, but it was a feeling that you feel when you see that photo or a vibe that you feel. So I knew I wanted something that felt like 1940s Casablanca, old Hollywood feel. So I go into Google Image and I just type in the words that I'm feeling and that I'm wanting to like come up with.
Evoke in images.
Yeah. And then see what comes up. And then I look for the prettiest images and then I just drag and drop into my PowerPoint.
Super high tech.
Super high tech. You guys, I'm not very techy at all. I know how to email. and
PowerPoint.
barely.
Google image.
Yeah, and Google. But yeah, it's just like drag and drop, and then I figured out how to resize them so everything is like the same image. The other kinds of images, though, because some people need some wedding related stuff they can't envision unless they see it. So I'll go to Pinterest for that, and I'll type in banana palm leaves in a ballroom. Like very specific. The more specific you are with what you're looking for, you will find those. They'll just pop up more images than you want. So then you have to like sift through all the hideous ones and find one that looks good with the color palette that you're working with for that client, so that it all looks good in a mood board. It's very time consuming, but you guys, I usually only use Google Image and I use Pinterest, and then I will pull some of my own work for like the floral work or things like that. If I have something from a past project that I think would work for it. But I feel so inspired also when I'm looking on Instagram and looking at other people's work. Last week I was having a conversation with a floral designer who had actually done one of the weddings that was on my inspiration board, and she was like kind of freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, that was my wedding. I can't believe I inspired you. And I was like, are you kidding me? Your entire feed inspires me. And when I went to her feed, it was like just beautiful. So a lot of times even just looking at other people's Instagram feeds and not doing it so you're like copying what they're doing, but find the inspiration, like screenshot it. Screenshot. Sorry, it sounded weird. No, it sounded weird. Screenshot it and like add it to your board. And yeah.
Steve, event design has been such a hot topic in the industry, especially over these last 6 months. So can you kind of share with us people who are either brand new to the wedding industry, are interested in becoming event designers, and or planners or florists who are thinking about adding event design to their business? Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because you guys have offered everything in-house from the beginning, planning, design, and florals. And there's really been 2 big reasons for that. One, you saw it as an opportunity to bring in more money for your business, but also to have more creative control with your clients. Can you share with us a little bit, as you know, for people who are thinking about adding event design as either starting event design business or adding it as one of their services?
Totally. So if you are a floral designer, and you're not doing event design, you should, because this is what's going to happen. It happens to my friends all the time because they like text me on the weekends and complain about it. Like, my flowers were amazing. They're so beautiful. And then I took them to the wedding, and then the stationery was ugly. The linens were ugly. The chairs were ugly. The room looked horrible. And so then they just feel defeated because they can't build their business how they want to, because their weddings don't look awesome because all those other details are
not. That's good.
They're not there. They're missing. So the reason why I like to do event design is because I want every detail to be cohesive. The flower centerpiece, it's just one part of it. But when I put that flower centerpiece down, I want it to be this like, whoa, like kind of like singing moment where it like all comes together, and the linen plays off of the vase that I use, and that plays off of the candle holders, and then the stationery that goes down from the place cards and the menus, all of those details, the ribbon that is being tied on any of it, all of it comes together and plays really well together. It makes the finished result just look elevated and look so much more cohesive and thoughtful and intentional. And you can charge for that. So this is the other thing that happens. All my florist friends are like, oh, I'm so annoyed. Like, I designed this whole event, but all they hired me to do was the flowers. But during the conversation, I wanted to make sure it looked good. So then I said, oh, you should use this linen, or you should rent this, or what about this chair? So you're just like giving all this information away, which is generous, I guess, but you should be like making money off of that. Because if you're going to do the service, you might as well get paid for it. It's not that much more work it doesn't have to be that much more time to just offer that service. And so like in our course, the reason why we did the event design course, it allows you to step up from just being a florist and elevate everything that you do by selecting linens and the candle holders and the stationery and the chairs, the rentals, all of those elements just come together so that you're able to have that elevated look. And we'll teach you how to do it.
So Steve, we had a lot of questions on this webinar about your in-person workshop. Should I attend the in-person workshop? Should I buy the online course? If your in-person workshop is on someone's bucket list, but not yet in their budget, do you think they should save up and wait to do that in a couple years, or buy your own online course now? Can you kind of talk a little bit about the difference between both? Because there are pros and cons to both options.
There are. That's a good question. And I have a lot of people that do both. Like they bought my previous online course, and then they wanted more. They wanted to meet me in person, meet Jamie in person.
Yeah, just hands-on learning with flowers specifically.
Yeah. So if you are just starting out, like when I was starting out, if someone was like, come to my workshop and pay $2,750 or $3,500 for the event design one, and pay for airfare and your hotel and for your meals when you're not here at the workshop, I would have been like, I don't have the money for that. Like, I just wouldn't have been able to do that. And so we get that. We understand that, which is why we wanted to do the online course, because we had so many people writing us, asking for questions,
like wanting more help.
And we wanted to help as many people as possible. So if that is where you find yourself, then I would say, buy the course now, or buy the online course, because there's so much great content. The other good thing about this is you can replay it and replay it and replay it. Whereas when you're here for 3 days in a workshop, it's intense, and it's fast, and there's lots of people, and
you can't rewind.
You can't rewind. I'll repeat myself, but then we have to move on, and then it's over, in a blink of an eye. So a lot of people that have taken my workshop have then gone and actually bought the online one, because there is some overlap. We make them different. We have a workshop next week, and it's always fun to see the color palettes that we've chosen for that week, or everyone likes getting their gift box at the beginning. Plus, we're fun to hang out with. Yeah. So my advice would be to go to both. If you can only do one and you don't have the money, I would not wait 3 years to come to a workshop. A lot of the stuff we're teaching is useful right now, and can probably very easily get you more money in your pocket, so you can come to our workshop.
Yeah. Well, and it's been neat to see how people have said, I bought the course and attended the workshop. And it's been both. They bought the course and then they decided they learned so much that they want that in-person experience, or vice versa. They attended the workshop and they're like, you know what, there's so much that I want to be able to come back to over and over again. And that's why they purchased the course. So it's neat to see that crossover, because there's actually quite a lot of it. And if you guys look up hashtag Sinclair More Workshops, you'll see that in that feed of all these different posts from vendors talking about what an incredible experience it's been, not only learning from Steve and Jamie in person, but online as well.
So the online workshop, I'll say, is when we're showing you guys how to use, put the flowers in, I think you guys, when you were videoing, it did such a good job of having all the different angles, so you can see a lot. But then in person, we're able to just take your hand with you and do it. So, or correct it if it just isn't quite connecting. So there's pros and cons to everything, but we understand the financial side of it too.
Cool. And there's a couple questions around promo codes, guys. Let's say you get to the checkout and for some reason, if the promo code isn't working, don't worry. We have records of everyone who's purchasing on the webinar. You'll still receive your 2 free classes. So don't let that stop you from hitting the checkout button. We have records of everyone's purchase, and we'll make sure you get those 2 classes. And you still have a few more minutes to take advantage of that special promo that we're running right now on the live webinar. Next question is, do you think your business model will only work for clients with a higher budget?
No. Because when I first started out, my clients didn't have a high budget. And you guys have been doing this from literally day one. It's not like I had a business and then I'm calling day one when I was established. It's day one for me was hi, my name is Steve. I need to pay rent.
Can I do your rent?
In 2 days, please hire me. Please hire me. I don't know what's going to happen to my future. That was my day one. And so I've always done it. And it wasn't a huge budget. It just wasn't. So I think, depending on where you live and your market, like I've had people that have said like, I have used part of your pricing model and then infused X, Y, and Z into it to work within the market that they're in. So I don't know every single market. Like I've never been to like Arkansas or other places. That was random.
I know.
I don't know. Like there's a lot of places I've never been that I don't know like your particular market, but I know that a lot of people have flown into my workshop from all over the world. And people that have gone back and used it, I get these like success stories of like, for the first time ever, like I feel financially free. For the first time ever, like I know that I'm being paid and like this is my money and I can pay myself. And I'm not stressed out or always trying to keep up with like, do I have enough money to pay for the supplies that my clients need? It's this clear separation. So you know what you're making and you know what you have to spend, and it's cut and dry.
Cool. I just have to share a couple of these comments because they're so sweet. Nadine says, I bought the online course and loved it so much that I was inspired to attend the in-person workshop. And then Katie says, guys, I'm not even in this biz and I'm close to throwing down some money. So
throw it down.
I love that. Okay, guys, this next question is around working together and family. How do you balance it all? You've got two little ones that are beautiful, Gray in London. You guys work together, you travel. How do you manage all of that?
Chaos. No, I mean, we've always worked really well together. Everywhere, like in the business, at home, with the kids. I feel like we're just on the same team. So for one, that just makes it easy. In the business, we are working on different things at the same time. So we're not really like micromanaging each other. We could be in the same room right next to each other, but
separate weddings,
separate things. We have to schedule meetings to even make sure we're on the same page with different projects that we're doing. And especially since we have the little ones, which makes it challenging, but
always.
With balancing family, I would say utilize whoever you can. Parents, friends.
Good nanny.
Great babysitters. You have to find a pool of babysitters to pull from that will be there for you. And then just utilizing like any time that you can, early in the morning, late at night, the nap time hustle. I've done it all. We've done it all. But I mean, at least for us, it tends to be more seasonal. So there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. There's, I don't know.
My light this year is Sunday. It's Sunday. This is like my last huge wedding.
Yeah.
It's coming.
It's coming close.
I think knowing, like, being super intentional with your time, which can be exhausting, but knowing like, okay, like this morning, I had about an hour before I had to leave between Gray and London waking up. I knew I had about 1 hour, so I'm like, okay, I need to close the computer, and this is their time, and I'm not going to think about work. And I read once that it was this guy who was traveling a lot for work, and people were asking him like, how do you balance everything? And he was like, I refuse to feel guilty when I'm at work, and I refuse to feel guilty when I'm with my kids. And when I'm doing both things, I'm going to be super intentional. So when I'm with my work, I'm going to be focused on that 100% and do it really, really well. And then when I'm with my kids, I'm going to be the best dad that I can ever possibly be, really and be like completely focused on them, and just be really, really focused and intentional with everything I say and do and the time. So
that's great advice.
It's hard, you guys. It's really hard. I'm so tired right now and exhausted, and I'm really, really ready for this season to be over. We were talking about in the webinar about balancing everything. We don't have it all figured out. Like every season's different, and sometimes you work with a client that literally sucks the life out of you, and you're just like, So please don't leave the webinar thinking like, oh, Steve and Jamie have it all figured out. Like they're never stressed. They're never like overwhelmed. Because it's not
No, I mean, it goes in waves, and you just have to ride the wave.
Ride the wave and know that it is for a season. And then as soon as wedding season's over, it's like, I have like, not all the time in the world, but I do.
You're like, where's my friends? Do I still
I know.
have friends?
I know. I'm like, what about you? Do you want to be my friend? Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool. See, it looks like we have a lot of planners on tonight's webinar. And I think maybe one of the neat things about your course, or one of the neat things about your course, is that it actually would work really well for a planner who is wanting to add event design, because your 15-step design process is actually very logical. You use it for every client. It just allowed you to streamline your business in a big way. Can you talk a little bit about to maybe the planners who are on here who are thinking, well, I don't currently offer event design, but I think it'd be something that would be really great, that would set my business apart. How does this course work for them?
So if you are a wedding planner not offering event design, you should offer event design, because I think it's almost becoming the norm and the expectation for a wedding planner. So if you are like, I'm just not creative, it's okay, because like the process I'm walking you through, like Emily just said, it's very methodical. You know, like it's like, first this, then this, then this. And if you're like type A and you need like little check boxes to check off, like you're actually able to like, and now I've done this and check it off. The other thing is, it's like, it will at least give you the foundation of what you need to know. And maybe you bring in someone to be on your team that is creative. We're in the process of doing that right now, just so I can be relieved of some of the work, bringing on a creative director type of figure who will come in and go through those steps within our business with our clients. Event design is what will set your events apart. We live in such a visual culture right now. I mean, it's hard to put on Instagram, like, look at my spreadsheets and look at my time and look at
emails.
Yeah. And so
that's a great point.
Then you get into like these messy conversations where you're like, look at the wedding I just planned. And everything in that photo is something that the designer did. And so then the designer's like, but that's my work, and now you're taking credit for it. And I've watched these like online like fights and back and forth battles for credit. Yeah. So I think that if you want to own that wedding, if you want to say, look at the wedding that I planned, because planning a wedding is, a lot of it is not fun stuff. You're like adding up power for band and coffee pots. And
getting your vendors there.
It's a lot of logistical stuff that isn't fun, you know, like where's the bathroom going to be placed? And what time is this person arriving? Like those are non-glamorous things. So like the event design side of it is what makes it beautiful, you know? And I think whether you're a designer or not, whether you feel creative or not, if you are an organized person, you can wrap your hands around those details. And there's probably something about the beauty of a wedding that made you want to get into wedding planning anyway. So this just allows you to own it, to own that credit, and then to make more money, offer more services, and build you up, build your services up. And it's not rocket science stuff. Maybe that's bad to say, but I walk you through this process where it's 15 steps, but when you go through it, it's going to be different from the next client that you do the exact same 15 steps, because it's the elements that you choose within those steps that make it event design and make it come alive. And that's how everything stays unique and different and fun and makes you stay alive. I'll say this with event design too. Like last week's wedding, if you followed us on Instagram, which I guess was controversial, some people hated it. Thanks for writing me that. But it was different than what we normally do. You know, it had the big banana leaves. I thought it was cool. I kind of liked it. Yeah. And it was all I had in me too when I got back when I was jet lagged from Italy. But this is what the client wanted, you know, and it was black and gold and green and white, kind of 1920s, 1940s mixed kind of vibe. We're doing that. Those same words were given to me by our client for this coming week. Same color palette, same era that they were inspired by. The weddings will not look remotely similar, which is fun. You know, it's really fun to see like how event design mixed with the response from the clients, what the client is telling you that they like or don't like, how you can create something completely different. It's kind of like choose your own adventure. You know those books that we used to have? Am I dating myself? I'm dating myself. Really I don't know what I'm talking about. But you can like choose your own adventure with, you get the idea.
Well, Steve and Jamie, just to let you know, we're getting a lot of comments of people being, I loved it. I so loved it. I think it was executed beautifully. So
Thanks
there's
a lot.
lots of fans who agree, who believe the same thing that you do, that last week's wedding was beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks.
Guys, before we get to the next question, we had a question come through about payment plans. Payment plans are available. They will also be available after Thursday, but they won't be available for $99 a month. This is the lowest price payment plans will be. When you purchase a payment plan, you also get the $500 off discount off the retail price of the course. And there's still a few minutes to take advantage of using that promo code Wedding Model to get the 2 free classes on your dashboard when the course is delivered. So Steve, something else too, that florists, I feel like they're kind of maybe big struggle for potentially adding event design is, how do I convince my brides to pay for events design? Like, they find it hard to convince them to pay for just floral design, but adding event design to that. You actually walk people through your entire client process. So meeting the client, how do you get the client to book, and even like from there on to the end of the wedding, what your interactions is with the clients to the very end, to the day of. Can you talk a little bit about, maybe for florists who are on the fence of, yeah, but how do I convince brides to actually pay for event design?
That's a great question. So I think it's clear communication, really, really clear. And you define out. So this is what we do. Like for us, because we're offering multiple services, I say, this is what event coordination is. So there's no mistake. And very clear event coordination, the definition in the most basic terms that I can find, so that there's no confusion over what we're offering. Event design. And then I list out, okay, this is what it is. This is how event design makes your wedding beautiful, because one makes it functional, one makes it beautiful. And then I make sure they understand the difference between function and beauty, like the difference between toilets that are brought in for your wedding versus making that area look beautiful, and flowers. Because I think a lot of people don't understand the difference. So making sure they understand it. And then floral design, just say all floral design is making your flowers, and I will show up at your wedding, and I will drop things off, and then I will leave, and then I will come back and pick it up. And then I say, if you want a wedding that is cohesive and beautiful and where things work, and for us, it's just, all I have to say is if you want a wedding like what you see on our website, that is what event design is. And then it's okay to tell your client, be very candid with them, be very clear with them, saying, if all you're looking for is flowers, then I cannot help you with linen selection, chair selection. I don't want to talk to your graphic designer. I don't want to know what your invitations look like. I want to show up with your flowers. I'm going to drop them off. I probably won't even see you that day. I'll make sure you get your bouquet though. And that's all it is. So then so if you start asking me about what should I do about X, Y, and Z, that is my expertise that I'm happy to give you, but you need to pay for that. So if they say oh no, I don't need that, I just want floral design, and say, if you want to offer just floral design, then be absolutely, that's great. I'm excited to be working with you. And then 4 months down the road, when they're I need help with this and that, just say, absolutely. I just want to, and pull back out your definitions. That's a service that I offer here. It's called event design. Is that something you'd like to upgrade your package to? So I think people are always afraid of not booking the client or making someone mad. And I get that, because I fear that too. I really do. But I think if you can just be super clear in a really kind way, and just say, I really want to make this beautiful, but that's not what you've hired me to do. And to say, would you like to go back and have that conversation? Usually people will be oh, you're right. And either they'll leave you alone, or they'll be yes, I need help. How much? How much does that cost? So does that help a little bit, or is that?
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's super helpful advice. Steve, Laura asks, is this course too advanced for me? For someone that's just getting started, what's the best way to show a potential client that you can actually pull it off? How do you begin a portfolio if you've never had a client before?
Yeah. You guys, I had no portfolio when I was starting out. Like, you know, those disposable cameras. I took some photos of some really not pretty stuff. In fact, in the course, I show you guys some of my original weddings.
Yes, we got to see that.
Yeah, I dug out my original portfolios, peacock feathers, and I glued on like red rhinestones onto things. Embarrassing. But it's okay if you don't have a portfolio. You have to start somewhere. So a couple things. One, be willing to maybe even like work for free for a wedding or two. And it's not free. Just say like, in exchange for like me doing this for you, I need the photos of it. So in the very beginning, you guys, I was helping friends with their weddings. Like in college, I was making my friends their wedding dresses, and I was doing it for $50. But I used some photos from there. Or I would do their wedding cakes, and I would take those photos and I'd show people just so that they could see, the capabilities. Also, you might want to do a wedding show, because at that point, they're not looking at a portfolio. They're looking at an actual booth of like, wow, your beautiful flowers, your tablescape that you created, the look of everything coming together, and they'll be drawn in by that. Next, I'd say is like, learn to be engaging with people, like make people like want to be your friend. Like figure out the art of communication where people just want to know you and they want to hang out with you. And part of that gets into like social media strategy and your Instagram strategy, but it also comes down to like how you present yourself and how you talk to people and how you make people feel. So if you can make people feel really good about themselves and warm, and they want to be around you, so then they want to hire you just so that they can meet with you. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but in the very beginning, like I had to like, because I'm pretty introverted, and I had to become an extrovert and kind of make myself more, like kind of put myself out there, which was really uncomfortable for me. Still is. You can ask Jamie, like my favorite thing to do is like be home by myself.
Pretty rare that happens.
It's rare that happens, but yeah, I like those moments. So, like, make sure that you're like just engaging with people in a way that they feel loved, they feel taken care of, they feel inspired by you. Make them laugh. People like to laugh. It's the same way that what I try to do with like my workshop attendees when they come. I try to get them, if I can get them to laugh within the first 5 minutes, like everyone breathes, including myself, a little bit better, a little deeper. I can do this. So I would say, you know, our course that we just made, like whether you've been doing it for 10 years or for 10 seconds, like the course will be great for you, because I will explain everything and I'll teach you in a way as if you've never heard it before. But I'm not doing it in a way that's like, if you have heard it before, that's condescending. It's a new approach to it. So if you've never done flower arrangements before, you'll walk away and you'll be opening the florist. So, and same with if you have done flowers before, like there's some new techniques in there. There's no foam that we've used, so that it's showing you how you can still do really lush, beautiful installations without using foam. Yeah, so I think there's something for everyone, and we don't teach in an intimidating way. At least I don't think we do. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's almost as if like if you've read a book multiple times over the course of a few years, when the first time you read the book, you take away something. And then a couple of years later, if you read the same book, you take away something different. And I think that's what's so great about having lifetime access to this course. So if you're just starting out, you're going to take away things that are going to be different than when you potentially revisit the course 2 years later, because you have more experiences to pull from. You have more knowledge at that point. And I think that that's what makes the course so great, no matter where you are in your business. Something else too that I just want to mention that Steve and I have talked about before, when I started Once Wed 12, 13 years ago, there wasn't online resources for starting an online business. There wasn't resources for starting a wedding business. I think
the library.
Yeah, your library story of going in and like seeing like a ancient 30-year-old book about planning weddings. So we had to figure it out on our own. And that's definitely a way to go about it. But why would you take a path of figuring it out on your own and wasting hours and hours of time, wasting precious resources, wasting money, when you can actually invest in learning from someone that's made those mistakes already and learn from them? And that's what's so incredible about starting a business today, is that you can learn from experts like Steve and Jamie who have made all of those mistakes. You don't have to make the same ones.
Yeah, I'd say this too, like what we're giving you guys is a roadmap of what has worked for us. But if you take that and infuse your own personalities into it, because even like our core values for us, a lot of it is like our natural gifting and like how we were wired. So if you figured out like, what is your love language? How do you show people that you love them? How do you make people feel special and important, and you infuse that into the strategies that we give you, that's your ticket to success. So it's not like, watch this video, do every little thing that we just did. It's like, infuse who you are into it. And then that's when you're going to see success from it. And I watch people come to our workshop, and I love it when they take what we've said, they apply their gifting to it, their talents, their love language, and they kind of identify like who they are in a way. They just come alive, and then something clicks. And so it's a pretty clear roadmap. And I'd say like, if you're just starting out, it's better to start out with like a roadmap versus like, let me get into this, make a bunch of mistakes, and then try to figure it out. So yeah, it'll save you a lot of headaches. And yeah.
So Steve, this is for kind of our experts who are a little bit further along, or our attendees who are a little bit further along in their careers. So Thistle and Honey says, next year will be my 6th year in business. I'm slowly edging into a higher selection of clientele and budget. My question is, what can I be doing to help this process along?
Totally. I would say do what you're doing, because if you're slowly edging into it, that is perfect. I think a lot of people see this end goal, or they might see a wedding that maybe you'll look at the wedding that we're doing this week with this massive floor that's going down, and it's crazy. Had I been given that wedding 5-6 years ago, like, would I have figured it out? Probably, but it would have been a hot mess. I would have been a hot mess. Like, it would have been pretty stressful. So I think celebrating the season that you're in and just being like, wow, look how far I've come. And the fact that I'm edging my way into higher and higher stuff, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like, I have wedding planners that I admire that have much bigger budgets than me, or floral designers like Mindy Rice. Like, I've always admired her. Like, I've always thought she's amazing and incredible. And like, I'm still like, when I grow up, I want to be like her. Like, I want to do weddings like her. If I were to be given some of the things that she's done, like, I probably would have failed miserably, not knowing how to do it. So I'd say every wedding that you do, push yourself a little bit, do a little bit more than what they're expecting. Maybe budget a little bit in your fee of like money you're going to give back to the client to expand their vision, expand their overall look, and edge your way in. And then as you get photos of that, you're going to attract higher end. And then as you do more with that client, then you'll get a little bit more. So it's okay to like just baby step your way into something bigger. And as you're doing it, you're learning more, you're growing more, you're picking up on things. You're saying like, okay, made a mistake there. Next time I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So the wedding I just did in Italy, if that had been my first European experience, for my first European wedding, like, I probably would have crumbled under the stress, and it was a hard week, you guys. I didn't do a little bit of how hard it was, because I didn't want to stress my client out. Oh my gosh, that was a hard week. And I probably would have like crumbled a little bit. I did crumble a little bit, but I would have crumbled more. And it was the experience, the foundational experience that I was able to like lean on, to know it was going to come together. So keep doing what you're doing. I'd also say like, it's okay to up your price. Just say a number in person. Like, I like to tell my pricing to people in person when I can, just so I can read their expression. Cause most people don't have a good poker face, and you can see if they're like, I can't afford that. And then you can say like, but I'm flexible. So just 9 times out of 10, you'll say a number and people will be like, great. And then I'm like, dang, I should have said higher. Like they didn't even blink. So just try to raise your prices a little bit more and go from there. So it'll naturally happen. Like it'll just every year, like just gets better and bigger. And I'd also say this, like sometimes those higher end weddings are not as glamorous as they seem. Like, have you heard the expression like more money, more problems? Like, yeah, more money, more problems. Like you will, oh gosh, there's sometimes those higher end weddings come with headaches and this expectation on you where sometimes they act like they own you. Like they've purchased you for the next year and a half of your life. And it's not always fun. So celebrate the season that you're in and just work hard and people will see that and it will naturally happen. And as you create space in your life to like receive like these like higher end clients and as you have, I don't know, just more expertise, like you're going to grow and grow and grow. So.
Yeah. Well, we're going to try to get to a couple more questions before we do, guys. You still have a few more minutes to take advantage of that exclusive promo where you get 2 free classes from Sinclair and Moore if you purchase the course. And payment plans are available for both U.S. and international residents. And if you purchase a payment plan, you also get the $500 discount off the retail price. So Steve and Jamie, this is very relevant to where you are right now in your business. Laura asks, how do you stay inspired week after crazy week and not get burned out during this crazy sleep deprived time in your business?
Yeah. Oh.
Maybe I should ask you this in 2 weeks because right now.
I'll say this, a couple things. One, surround yourself by really good people. That's one of my core values is like, I want to be surrounded by people that make me laugh and that I can make laugh because if you can laugh your way through the hardest of times, I think that's why one of the reasons why our marriage is strong is because we can remember the time we like ran through the garage with the car.
What? Oh
yeah, that happened.
I hit the trim,
and it cost a lot of money to fix. But we kind of laughed about it, and like if you can like laugh your way through like the hard times, like it's better. So find people that you like love to be with. If you watch our stories, even on the most stressful of weddings, you'll listen to like our team is like
the whole team's always giggling.
We're giggling and laughing. I don't say like and giggle. Come on, like yeah, like we're actually like
having fun.
We're having fun. We're having a good time. That doesn't mean that there's not like stressful moments or moments of like, all right, I'm just gonna walk away for a minute. I had to do that in Italy. You can ask my team, anyone that was there, when the linens were still missing the night before the wedding, and the caterer was like, "We will not help you replace anything." Really cool. I was like, "I'm just gonna walk away for a few minutes right now." Little time out for myself. So give yourself timeouts. Surround yourself with people that make you laugh, and I'd say too, like, don't take yourself too seriously, and know that you're going to make mistakes. Know that like there's not a single wedding that I've ever done that is perfect. Have grace for yourself and grace for others. I allow myself to eat as much ice cream and cake as I want. Like that's for you, it might be alcohol, or it might be, I don't know, whatever. Maybe it's spaghetti. I don't know. I really like cake and treats. Like, yeah, I am just gonna let myself eat it, and then I'll deal with like working out. So I mean, I think but it's staying inspired. I think if you can do your inspiration ahead of time, at that point during busy season, you're just rolling things out. So yeah, you're not like, for me to try to be creative, like the hardest thing is when like a 2019 or a 2020 bride wants me to like design their wedding when I'm like in the throes of 2018 wedding season. I'm like, give me a minute. I just told a client, I was like, okay, if you want me to design your wedding right now for you and have it done right now, I will. If you want it to be beautiful and creative and amazing and inspired, like give me a minute. And so I'm pretty candid with my clients too. I'm like, I will come back with a board. It will be basic and fine. And if you want to do it, then fine, we'll check it off our list. will be done. But I really need to get into this creative space. And that's what the off season is for. That's what traveling is for. That's what, I don't know, watching movies and seeing the beautiful set. That's what that is for. And looking at fashion, that's what that is for. So there's a time and a season for everything.
Yeah. Guys, if you enjoy watching Sinclair and Moore during their stories over the weekend, you will absolutely love their course. I feel like stories is just a small part of the behind the scenes of how you guys plan, design, and execute a wedding. And the course is like that on steroids. So it was an incredible experience filming this course with Steve and Jamie. We've been so excited to see the people who already started taking the course and learning in the course. If you guys have any questions, just check out the hashtag Sinclair and Moore workshops. You'll see all these different people from all these different walks of life all over the world sharing what it's like learning from Steve and Jamie. And then yes, I had a couple quick questions come in about the promo. You still have a few minutes to take advantage of that 2 bonus class promo. And the promo code to use is wedding model. If you have any questions at all about buying the course, feel free to direct message us on Instagram. Our handle is ifimade, or email us at info@ifimade.com. We're going to have moderators staying on for the next few minutes to answer any questions that you have, whether you're having difficulty checking out or accessing your courses. Nothing makes us happier to see people say, I'm going to stay up the entire night and take Steve and Jamie's course, and we're seeing that in the comment section now. So Steve and Jamie, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah. Tell me about the
Yes, definitely. So Steve and Jamie have generously offered to do an Instagram Live on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to try to get to more questions. I know we weren't able to get to everyone's questions this evening. So that Instagram Live is just solely Q&A. So be sure to join us. It's going to be 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be on Sinclair Moore's feed. And it'll be Steve and I, and we'll just be hashing it back and forth, trying to get to as many questions that we can.
I've never done an Instagram Live before, so I'm nervous no one will come. So,
No, come, so Steve doesn't get nervous. It's going to be great. We're going to try to get to a lot of questions, and it's definitely going to be the same kind of casual, conversational, just lots of learning. So Steve and Jamie, thank you again so much. Hillary says, I'm currently clapping at home alone for them. Haha, yay. Steve and Jamie, thank you again. Everyone, I hope you have a great evening.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks for joining us.